One of the very exciting thing, plus a very dangerous thing potentially for your career can be applying for a Canadian permanent residency from your home country without planning really well. In this video, I'm going to share my experience of what we have been seeing speaking to so many IMGs who have applied for permanent residency, and let's do this together. I decided to make this video after hearing a story from one of you. Now, I was doing a live session, many of you might have watched this. I was speaking to an orthopedic surgeon who is in Canada, and believe it or not, so he moved through the practice ready assessment road, and he's presently working in a grocery store in Canada because he couldn't find anything in orthopedic surgery that's going to suit him. This is scary. Now, I did receive quite a few one-on-one comments from many IMGs who saw this video and expressed shock. And in fact, one of the IMGs who was planning to move to Canada also got worried that what if it happens to her? Well, let me tell you, the idea of me sharing this to you is not to scare you, but actually to give you the reality of what's happening in Canada. Now, you apply for permanent residency, assume you or both you and your spouse could be IMGs. You go speak to an immigration consultant in your home country, then the possibility of you getting a Canadian permanent residency is going to be significantly high. Canada prefers skilled workers, of course, right? Well, as I'm recording this, my team members are telling me that this is not a great background because this is a winter season and the trees do not have any leaves. But I would still say this is a good background because we are in nature. Anyway, let's get to the point. Once IMGs get permanent residency, what they usually think is they land in Canada as a permanent resident and somehow magically they can get their dream position. And this could be a clinical fellowship, a residency program, or anything you're wishing for. But you know what? This is unfortunately not happening in Canada at the moment. This is because there is a discrepancy between how many are getting permanent residencies in Canada and how many jobs are available. The healthcare in Canada is a socialized system, which means a lot of approvals for jobs and other positions and funding has to directly come from the government. You can imagine any government is not very fast in its decision making. So there is a huge discrepancy between how many Canadian permanent residents are there as IMGs plus how many jobs are available. So what this is making is many IMGs are ending up doing non-skilled jobs. This is why I really caution you before you go to your immigration consultant. Again, nothing against them, they're doing their job, but you have to be cautious in terms of getting permanent residency and then making your plans. Rather, what you should be doing is, if you end up taking permanent residency in Canada, you should plan it in such a way that you're also planning your next steps in terms of your career. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you're thinking of applying for a fellowship. This fellowship application has to start simultaneously with your permanent residency application, or preferably even before that. This is because you want to come with a job in Canada. If you land in Canada without a job, assuming you're a permanent resident, you cannot think you will get a job because you're a permanent resident. Is this making sense? Why permanent residency can be a problem? And this is why we don't recommend directly getting permanent residency, but rather we favor moving to Canada on a job. And this could be a fellowship, a clinical fellowship, a research fellowship, or this could be directly applying for residency, in which case, of course, this is an exception, you will still need Canadian permanent residency, but you should have planned in such a way that you become successful early on. If you spend a lot of years out of clinical work, which is what is going to happen if you move to Canada without a job, then getting into any jobs is going to be extremely difficult. There are a lot of people like you who are waiting for jobs. In fact, I was watching a video There was a security job in a store in Toronto, and believe it or not, there were 350 applications. This could be an exaggeration. I cannot authenticate the content of the video, but just to say that the job market is so saturated. So what I don't want you IMGs who are really well qualified to do skill job is to land in Canada without planning, without a job, and then end up doing nothing in Canada and really struggle with you and your family.